Ruin my life? Don't ever threaten someone permanently stuck in alpha survival mode. Regarding the survival mode thing, years ago I was living with a couple of friends and lost both my job and my place to live within the same 24 hours when the economy shot itself and the bank foreclosed on the owner where we were staying. Had about 2 weeks to get out, and I ended up homeless and living in my car for 2 years. That's another story entirely. The point, however, is when living in a large city in a vehicle, your survival mode kicks in constantly. You're always worried, you're always cautious, and in the event something happens that's a threat, you usually think of the most effective, brutal, and quickest way to remove it as a threat. As a result, even years later now that I'm stable, I don't really have the ability to gauge an appropriate response to a threat. Maybe that's why I went overboard here, but I'll share the story and let others be amused or pass judgment as the case may be. When I was living in my car, I developed a relationship with someone who was a bit more stable than I was. She didn't really care that I lived in a car, as I was always presentable and was able to hold down temp work. Nobody really knew I lived in a car unless I shared that info with them. She was big on helping people and was genuinely a good person, as I thought at the time. We had a falling out and just gradually lost contact. Our relationship was more of a passion thing. We remained friends on Facebook, and she was fairly popular on there with about 500 friends. This is important later. About a year after the two of us broke up and about 6 months after I had last spoken to her outside of a few casual comments and likes, I was doing much better. I had just started a new job that I was about to go through training for, and afterwards would be out of the car and into a more permanent residence. I had done a lot to work towards that point, and things were great. I was at a Kinko's using their internet on my laptop and my phone rang. It was her. After a very brief exchange of pleasantries, she gets to the point. Her current boyfriend got her pregnant and left her. She needed someone to take her to the abortion clinic, and since she was poster child perfect girl to her circle of friends and family, she couldn't ask any of them to do it. So she was asking me. On one hand, I was perturbed that this was the first time we had spoken in a long time and this was the only subject she felt was important enough to call me on. On the other, I try to be a good guy, and even though it backfires, I was raised that way. But in this situation, I really couldn't help her because I was supposed to drop my car off at a friend's house the next day, then hop a bus to another state for my orientation and new job. Even if I wanted to, which I really didn't, I couldn't. I told her as much, and then shit hit the fan. She started screaming at me on the phone, acting hysterical, crying, telling me that I was a horrible person. I had to help her, I didn't care about her, etc. By this point the other people in the computer area are hearing her scream at me over my phone and I'm getting quite a few stares. I tell her in a tense voice that I had to get off the phone and for her to send me a message. Some of you may be getting ahead of me here and see where this is going and think in advance I'm in booty hole, but please reserve judgment. I promise it's worth it. My Facebook chat window starts lighting up with more insults. I realize that this may bite me in the butt. Remember about how I don't respond well to things I see threatening, and start to steer the conversation asking her details, and she gets dragged along. I confirm in the chat that she was pregnant. I confirm in the chat he ran out on her. I asked why he ran out on her as I thought the two of them were close, and she tells me that there was a chance it wasn't his. I tell her that once again, I can't help her as I need to catch a bus tomorrow morning. Up to this point I'm willing to wish her luck and let it go. I start a new life tomorrow. She then drops a bombshell on me. If you don't help me with this, I'm going to tell everyone that it's yours and that you roped me. Oh hell no. She did not just say that. And then I realize, she said it over Facebook chat. Instead of warning her, instead of telling her to duck off, I instead start thinking about what a false rope accusation would do to me on the eve of everything that's about to change for my life. I have one thought, born out of the survival mode that got kicked into high gear: destroy this bully, and I know how to do it. I ask her if she's serious when she knows there's no way the kid is mine. She says she doesn't care. I ask her who she thinks is going to believe her. She says it's my word against hers, and who are people going to believe? Her, or some homeless duck-off who lives in his car. Knowing I know have enough ammo, I pretend to reluctantly relent. I tell her, God damn it, fine, I'll help you, but I can't take you to the clinic tomorrow. It will have to be later this week. I have to change my plans. Let me call you tomorrow. She agrees. I then get to work. Within a few minutes, the chat transcript has been sent to about 100 people on her friends list, and I tagged all of our mutual friends. The chat was also linked on her church page and her employer's page. I also sent it to her parents for good measure as an afterthought. Almost instantly, my phone starts to blow up. I shut off my laptop, shut off my phone, and went out to my car to spend my last night in it. There's not much I can say about the fallout that will do it justice more than what's probably playing in your heads. Sides were chosen, legal threats were made, firings happened, death threats were thrown around. Needless to say, her reputation was completely ruined to the point that she not only had to delete all forms of social media, but she had to move clear across the country to get rid of the stigma from the small town she grew up in. Over the top? Maybe, but it was so sweet. It warms my heart on cold winter nights.